Hey, Big Blue Banter listener. Would you like an extra $500? That's a lot of cash. Go to bluewirepods.com/survey and complete the Blue Wire audience survey about you and your podcast listening habits for a chance to win a $500 gift card. This survey will help create a better advertising experience for audiences and, in turn, help this show. That's bluewirepods.com/survey, where all you have to do is answer some simple questions for a chance to win $500. Make sure to read the full terms and disclaimer, plus complete the survey for a chance to win. bluewirepods.com/survey. The link is also in the show notes of this episode.
Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneider, joined as always my co-host Nick Filato. Tonight we're here to break down the defensive film, the All-22 from the Giants game against the Eagles. Not quite the performance they had against the Bengals, but some good stops early on that we're going to talk about. But before we do any of that, Nick, we do have to tackle the elephant in the room. And I use the word tackle lightly because this guy wasn't doing much of that.
Did you do that deliberately?
No, that came naturally.
I don't think you did. That's great, dude.
This guy wasn't doing much of tackling in week 7. It's Deonte Banks, the Giants' 2023 first-round draft pick, supposedly a building block on this team, a really important asset from a draft capital standpoint, and someone who 2 weeks ago was called out by his position coach, and I thought responded very well, both in game film and with what he said to the media, with his best game of the season against DK Metcalf. Followed up with a pretty good game again against the Bengals, but we're not talking about him in coverage right now. We're talking about his effort on a broken play, a scramble from Jalen Hurts. And Nick is going to show the film of this right now as we discuss this play, I believe. If we are,
yeah, I'll pull it up here. It's just it's upsetting, and I think it's worth showing people what exactly happened because it was such a hot topic of conversation. So this is late in the game. It's the first play of the fourth quarter. By this point, I think the Giants had already decided that Daniel Jones is going to be benched. And the Giants, Shane Bowen, Shane Bowen is not somebody we're going to chastise much. And although the run fits were not great in this game, it ended up coming to fruition because the Giants offense was not sustaining any kind of drive whatsoever. But anyways, they're able to scheme up an A-gap blitz. Matthew Adams goes to sack Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts escapes and he's running. And you can see Tay Banks just come on this, just does not go for the tackle whatsoever. This is dogging it right here.
Yeah.
He just doesn't dive. And then you can see Jerome Henderson at the top of the screen. Jerome Henderson is pissed. He is looking.
It doesn't look like he's listening to Henderson really either.
No, not at all. And then he puts his head up like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like that's what Jerome Henderson is acting like with his star cornerback. And honestly, you can't really afford benching him at this point because the Giants are so thin in the secondary. But that is just not wanting to tackle at all. And that is such an indictment on Tay Banks as a player. Like he has to be more mentally tough than this. And if you want to be a leader on this football team, I get that you're young, you cannot put that out there on tape. And this is something now that the fans are aware of. And it's not a good situation for Tay Banks because it's real. It's real. It's not manufactured. This is real.
This is real drama. You're right. 100%. It's not manufactured. And it's really concerning for a lot of reasons. Now, you mentioned something about how the Giants can't afford to bench him because of their depth at the corner position. I know a Giant insider today I saw say, he said, I think it was Chris, I assume he runs their Twitter, said he has to be benched. This is a big challenge in the season for Brian Daboll. It's a big determining moment. Like, will he bench Deonte Banks? And if he doesn't, it kind of sends a message to the team. Do you agree with that? Where do you stand on that?
So I am of the opinion that they should bench Deontay Banks for a half or for a quarter. You have to make some sort of statement. Maybe even if you're that scared of Nick McLeod and the lack of depth that the Giants have in the secondary, you can bench him for a drive and say, hey, we showed him a lesson. You can't let that go unpunished, though, in my opinion. I think you have to bench him, but it just depends on the severity of the benching.
It might be surprising to some because I'm not as much typically on this case, but I completely agree. I would bench him for potentially up to a game for this to really make it sink. There's a multitude of reasons why I say this. If the Giants were in contention, I might be more willing to do a quarter or a half, but they're not. And you need to take control back of this team if you're Brian Daboll. You're a player's coach and your build is a player's coach, and that's fine. I believe in players' coaches too. It's not, there's not one way to do it. The Parcells way worked. I think the Parcells way is great, but I also think the Parcells way worked with a different type of athlete, not a, millennial and Gen Z kind of athlete. These are different people who grew up on their phones and didn't really have teachers who were allowed to tell them, you're doing something wrong. Like the parents came in and they blamed the teacher, or they blame the authority. Like You're just a different person. It's a different generation. I know tons of people and different jobs that all tell me, we're older now, Nick. We're in our 30s. We're in middle management in some spots. And like a lot of people tell me that the young kids that they get in to work these junior jobs are really, really, really poorly motivated and really massive ADHD levels and just big issues in their companies.
It's so funny how us millennials are starting to become the boomers. The boomers always bitched about us, and now we're like, oh, we're the old fuddy duddies now.
It's true, and we're not even as good as our parents were, right? The boomers had a much better work ethic than we'll ever have. We were the start of the internet era, but like this new generation, dude, is really bad. And so I hate to pin him in this, Nick, but Deontay Banks is 2 years old, 21, 22. He's a Gen Z, and he clearly put something on tape today that is unacceptable. And I think as a head coach, you need to bench him. You need to control your team and be like, this is unacceptable. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're our starting number one receiver or number one cornerback. Now, some might say, what about Malik Neighbors, who didn't look like he was that engaged toward the end of the game, right? And I would say this is totally different than what Deontay Banks did. And so
I agree with your assessment. I think he should be benched, and I hate to be that old stick in the mud. But look, just 3 weeks ago it was, where Jerome Henderson actually went to the media, which the Giants don't do this shit. Goes to the media and chastises him and says, well, I hope he responds. And he responded well. He shut down DK Metcalf. And the Giants came away with the win. And then the next week, he ends up basically shutting down Jamar Chase and plays well. Well, this game, all the tires fall off the vehicle and the Giants are up Schitt's Creek. And he doesn't want to make an open field tackle, which Jalen Hurts had picked up the first down. That's not the point. And he was dogging it a lot in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
This was the main play where it was like, are you kidding me? And you see Jerome Henderson freak out on him. It wasn't an injury.
And then the level of disrespect you show Jerome Henderson after that's another problem for me.
You need to reclaim something right now. Like, it's starting to spiral very quickly, very fast. You need to establish some sort of authority. And this is one way you can do so. Nick McLeod, I know you just got burnt by AJ Brown, but you're in the starting lineup, my friend.
Right. I think it's important, and we'll see what happens. It doesn't seem like they're going to. And I want to shout out a content creator. I don't know if it was Big Dash. I don't think it was. It was either Dash or Diggy, who does film breakdowns for the Giants, and he's good as well. I think it's pronounced Diggy. It's Digge on Twitter. But he showed another play, one of those when the Eagles were backed up inside their 5, Nick, and Barkley had that 50-yard run. He's like, is Deonte Banks just allergic to contact? And it doesn't really look like he wanted to tackle on that play either.
No, he definitely didn't. It was one of the plays where Barkley hit up the middle and Banks had an angle to cut off of Barkley, but a bunch of Giants kind of surrounded Barkley. So Banks stopped, but Barkley was still going. Barkley was trudging through contact and falling through Giants defenders. And Banks oh, well, maybe I should go. No, I'm okay. And it's just completely allergic to contact. Again, you have to make a statement right here, especially with the defense, who a lot of those guys were very sympathetic to Wink Martindale, and we know the drama that surrounded his departure with Brian Daboll. So you got to make a statement right now. And if they don't, man, it's just like, look, I don't know what you guys are doing at this point. There's a lot of look, you can't fix your quarterback situation. The offensive line, this is bad, right? There's a lot of negativity surrounding the Giants, but you have to be a coach. Yes. You have to discipline your players when they are so blatantly disrespectful towards your coaching staff, like Deonte Banks was there. And I hate this because I love Tay Banks. I do. Too. I love his game, but you have to call it like it is, man. And he should be disciplined for this.
No, we have to call it like it is. And it's not just the level of disrespect that he showed toward the coaching staff. It's a level of disrespect he showed toward his teammates, in my opinion, because Brian Burns is out there for 3-4 weeks in a row playing on an injury that he should not be playing on for a team. And he's doing it. Every game he gets up limping off the field, Brian Burns, limping. Play to play in the locker room after the game, these reporters keep saying, oh man, Brian Burns does not look good. It is bad news. And then next week, there's no one on the injury report, or he's on the injury report, but he's ready to go and he plays again, Brian Burns. And how many times, Nick, have we wrote in our notes, highest effort player, Brian Burns? So if you're giving the most effort on the team, or arguably in some games, 1 or 2, and you're playing through that kind of injury, and then another player in your team is doing that on tape, that's who I think it disrespects even more.
I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more. Burns is the best example of that too, because he is just out there time and time again. And we'll talk quick scheme stuff too. Quick overview stuff before we get into some of these plays, man. I thought Shane Bowen did a good job dialing up pressure, man. It's not like he had to blitz all that often. He didn't blitz
Right.
Jalen Hurts too frequently, but the simulated pressures were getting home, and the twists and the contain that the New York Giants would run off of their twists, specifically designed to stop Jalen Hurts from getting to the outside. Every time the Giants twisted, Elijah Chapman, who I felt like had a really good game, and Dexter Lawrence, they would, whoever was a looper, they would go wide because they know Jalen Hurts wants to get to the outside, and that would contain Jalen Hurts towards where the quarterback spy was, where the middle hook defenders were, or where Brian Burns was slanting to the inside. So I think from a scheme perspective, what Shane Bowen was able to do in passing downs to threaten and to harass Jalen Hurts, kiss the fingers. I felt like he did a great job there. It was just from a run fitting standpoint, everything kind of ended up falling apart. But early on, they were fitting the run too high defense, right? Like it's not, the Giants didn't fit
just
the run
like what we saw versus Cincy at the beginning.
Yeah, they were able to fit versus too high because Drew Phillips is a freaking beast. And you have him as your nickel defender flying in there, and he's undercutting blocks, and he's blowing up the bubble screen to Devonta Smith. Man, Drew Phillips is a real football player, like a good, like a plus football player.
You know
like,
what, dude, on that front?
What's up?
How many times over the last 3-4 years, and it's fair because a lot of teams don't want to, a lot of analysts don't want to cover the Giants because we're not a good team. But have we talked about how one of these players on our team is so good on film and it doesn't get picked up anywhere? I've seen multiple really big time analysts in the industry pick up on Drew Phillips this year. John Ledger did it today. It was Dane Brugler's done it, and just showing how good he looks on tape to their eyes,
which is so important to the modern defense. You need to be able to fit the run when you play nickel, and 11 personnel is everywhere in the NFL. Everyone loves to run 11 personnel, except for some of these more innovative teams that have successfully passed the football and ran the football out of 21 personnel, the 49ers and the Miami Dolphins when they have Tua. But having a nickel like Drew Phillips, who can fit the run and also play man coverage as well as he does, is such an asset to your defense. Like that is, like, I'm not saying he's the MVP of the defense. You have Dexter Lawrence, you have all those players, but he allows you to be comfortable defending the run in sub packages. And every defense wants that. They don't want to put these fat, slow linebackers out there consistently. They want to be able to fit the run with two linebackers out there in nickel, and Drew Phillips allows you to do that and some. So
if you fit the run from too high, like you said, then you're really cooking as a defense.
Especially, man, because with the RPO, dude, they have so many RPO bubbles, and you play all these offenses that run a lot of RPO. That puts a lot of stress on the linebackers and that apex, man. And that apex can shade to the inside and be instinctive coming downhill when it is a run, like Drew Phillips is. It removes the threat of the RPO. If you have a defender who's not that great against the run, and he could stay with that RPO, but then he has to come in there and be that extra body against the run to even out the math in the box, and he can't make the tackles and he can't avoid the blocks, then it's basically like he's not even there anyways. Drew Phillips masks that for the defense because he is so damn good at slipping blocks and he's physical at the point of it. I'm glad I'm raving and being positive about something, but this is true positivity here. This isn't something that I have to like make up or pull out of my ass, which I wouldn't do anyways. Drew Phillips is a damn good football player, man.
He is a damn good football player. And look, it's funny because we look at this game overall as a scope, and it's like a lot of what we had to discuss with Sean came true. Like, I don't feel like this was a get right game for the Eagles for sure as a team, but I don't think this was a get right game for the Eagles offense. I think it was basically essentially what Sean said they would do: take these isolated outside shots to AJ Brown and then run the football. And they didn't do anything in the middle of the field in the passing game. They didn't have any kind of interesting concepts that put the Giants DBs in conflict, and they were utilized in the middle of the field. I didn't think Jalen Hurts looked particularly good. I didn't think the passing game looked particularly sharp at all. And I think the Eagles O-line blew some pass opportunities from against the Giants pass rush at different points of this game, especially early on. So I don't even think the Giants really played all that bad on defense, except for these run fits that really killed them in this game. These explosive.
And a lot of it was like, if Kayvon Thibodeau was healthy, do they have it? And I know Kayvon Thibodeau, look, we're a little critical of Kayvon Thibodeau now, and I think it's warranted, but he's still a lot better than Patrick Johnson. He's still better defending the run than Azeez Ojulari.
And I think one thing that we can say too, Nick, is that it does appear that Bobby Okereke has taken a step back from the level of play that we had grown accustomed to last season. Last season, he was essentially an all-pro player playing on a 6-win team and not getting the respect he deserved. And that was true on tape. This year, I don't feel like he's been an all-pro player.
Different defenses, and I agree. I think he has a little bit more on his plate than he did with Wink Martindale. He has lighter boxes that he has to defend against. which means those guards get up to the second level so much quicker, or those tackles. I think that was a big problem early on in this game. I saw Michael McFadden get tossed like 2 or 3 times by guys who were massive. The tackle that the Eagles have got up to him and just like threw him. Mekhi Becton threw him once. And it's like, it's easy to criticize a linebacker because it doesn't look great when you're a linebacker, and he should have gets uprooted
it's
like that.
130-pound difference. Mekhi Becton.
Exactly. But they were clear, like clean. I got up to the second level. Like, what is Michael McFadden supposed to do, especially when the box is that light if you are playing too high? And the Giants wanted to play too high against Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. They did a lot early. They were able to fit the run, but once they couldn't fit the run, they just went right to one high. And they were just like, had that extra guy in the box to try. And it was, look, Azeez Ojulari twice on the first long run by Saquon Barkley on the first touchdown drive, and then the second run right after to Kenneth Gainwell. Both of those runs were, we're going to run boundary right at Saquon Barkley. And then later on in the game, Patrick Johnson got fooled on a zone read, and Micah McFadden also reacted the same way Patrick Johnson did, taking the keeper. Nobody took Saquon. And then it was Saquon against Jason Pinnock in the alley, and Jason Pinnock missed the tackle, and Saquon ended up going for like 50 yards. Pinnock was not great in the alley. Those were some of the issues. It was attack the edges of the Giants whenever Brian Burns isn't out there. And whenever Dexter Lawrence wasn't out there in the fourth quarter, it was run the football right at Jordan Riley and DJ Davidson, because both of them were on the ground so frequently. And there were a couple good plays by each of those players, but those are not guys that you can have playing significant snaps because they get uprooted by double teams. And then one of the double team players is able to easily climb to a linebacker and then eliminate that linebacker. And it's just, it's terrible for the safeties coming downhill. It's not great. You need to be stronger. You need, the spine of your defense needs to be stronger. And without 97 out there, it's very weak. It's got some vertebrae.
Let's get some play breakdowns.
Yeah. Well, I think there was one more thing I wanted to, one more thing I want to talk about, bro. It is fun watching the Eagles run the football. Yeah. They have a good and creative rushing scheme, man. They ran freaking dart. Dart is when you take your backside tackle and you have him lead block or kick out the end man on the line of scrimmage, almost like a split zone, only it's the backside tackle and you just run right off the ass of that. And they ran bash like 2 or 3 times with the back away. So you're pulling 2 guards and your quarterback's supposed to follow him, but he can hand the football off to the back who is going away from the blockers, and you trust your back to make those defenders miss. And those were successful runs. So the dart, the bash, some of the counter runs that they employed, and then obviously the zone read, and then with Saquon, it's just like, damn it, dude. But yeah, let's get to some plays. You're right. Anything on that though?
Breakdowns. No, it's a great point. They've run a really strong run game through different coordinators too. I think Steichen maybe did it best, but Kellen Moore's done a good job, and he deserves credit for that because I gave him a little heat as a fake sharp in the preview podcast. But a lot of this I think is also Stoutland too, right? Like having that offensive line coach is such a key factor, and that's something Sean brought up as well.
What's up, everybody? It's Jerry Ferrara. I've got a new podcast called Throwbacks with Heisman Trophy winner Matt Leinart, where we will be talking about all things sports, all things pop culture, and all things about our lives. From football locker rooms to Hollywood green rooms, we've got you covered. We're your weekly destination for the games you want to hear about and the stories you won't forget. Listen to Throwbacks on Apple Podcasts or Spotify with new episodes every Thursday.
What's up, big Blue Banter listeners? I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out, it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. And all of Mint Mobile's plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/BBB. That's mintmobile.com/BBB. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/BBB. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or even months between appointments to experience it? Introducing Manscaped's newest innovation, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver, the game-changing tool that brings the luxury of professional shave right into your home. Whether you're after that daily silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, The Chairman Pro electric foil shaver is your go-to for precision and style every time. Head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code BIGBLUE for 20% off. Gentlemen, this has changed the grooming game for me, and I highly recommend it for you. Get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code BIGBLUE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code BIGBLUE at manscaped.com. Hey, Giants fans, we've teamed up with Buck Foston to give away exclusive free apparel from hats to premium sweatshirts and hoodies. It's easy to enter. Just follow them on Instagram @_Buck Foston or sign up for their newsletter at buckfoston.com. Next, DM them our 20% discount code BLUE20 on Instagram or through their website's chatbot, and you're entered in the giveaway drawing. You can participate every week and boost your chances by tagging friends and liking posts. 3 winners are picked at random each week. It's simple, free, and a great way to score apparel from Buck Foston. You must reside in the United States to enter. Terms and conditions apply. Look, we all wear underwear every single day, and we all have complaints. They ride up, they're not comfortable, they don't fit correctly. I shared these complaints until I started wearing Skims. When I tried Skims stretch boxer briefs, I felt like I finally found that missing link. They gave me all the movement I needed for the workout. They were comfortable while I was sitting here podcasting and watching all of this New York Giants film. Everything from the texture to the fit worked for me, and it will work for you too. It is a great product, and I highly recommend it. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com. Let them know we sent you after you place your order. Select podcast in the survey and select our show, Big Blue Banter, in the drop-down menu that follows. Absolutely. So the Giants ran a lot of cover one hole man with the hole defender acting as a quarterback spy on Jalen Hurts on third downs. They employed it on this 2nd and 9 that I'm going over right now, where Micah McFadden, this is where he avoids traffic. That's something I kind of want to bring up a little bit later. I think he does a good job avoiding the traffic, as you can see. This is only the end zone copy, but I wanted to highlight this. This is the sack by Azeez Ojulari because it really elucidates what the Giants were doing up front and is what I talked about at the top of the show. Watch how the Giants twist. You're going to have Brian Burns go to the inside, and you're going to have Azeez Ojulari and Dexter Lawrence exchange. Dexter Lawrence goes wide. Raheem Nunez-Roches goes wide. They're inviting Jalen Hurts to step up into the pocket and rush right into the arms of Bobby Okeke. This was something the Giants wanted to do on 4-man pass rushes often, man. Whenever they twisted, they went wide. They just did not want him to get to the edge. They wanted to force him up, and the Giants did a very good job. The penetrating defenders. You can see Azeez Ojulari. He penetrates. He's on 2 blockers. Once he realizes he's on those 2 blockers, you have those defenders set the width of where Jalen Hurts is allowed to go. And then watch how Azeez Ojulari basically becomes a quarterback spy himself. Oh, I'm going to step up. Oh, never mind. Right into the arms of Azeez Ojulari. This is all scheme right here from the Giants. That's deliberate by Shane Bowen, and that's a smart adjustment that he made.
That's excellent observation by you, and just goes to show some of the things Shane Bowen's doing that he deserves credit for because they're on tape.
And here's the this is just the non-end zone version of that, the all 22, and you can see there's really nowhere for Jalen Hurts to go. The Giants are in excellent man coverage. They flow aggressively over the top with the one safety. Now we're going to have a 3rd and 10, another cover one hole. You can see the hole defender. The hole defender is just an underneath defender. You can see how it's like too high pre-snap. Boundary safety buzzes down, keeps eyes on Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts ends up getting sacked.
Take a look at how, this just goes back to a little bit to what we were discussing earlier. Take a look from you'll have to see it from the sideline angle of just how tone setting it is, the matchup with AJ Brown and Deonte Banks here. AJ Brown just absolutely throws Deonte Banks to the ground. He says, this is going to be a physical game. I am a beast of a wide receiver. And AJ Brown is so strong, man. And he just throws him right to the ground.
Great observation, man.
He didn't want anything, Banks. He didn't want this. He didn't want, what did they say? What's that moniker, Nick?
He didn't want the smoke?
Yeah, he didn't want the smoke.
No, he did not want the smoke. He was smoked out. He was smoked out. But yeah, he got tossed to the deck. And here, Jalen Hurts just kind of falls down, but this is all set up by Brian Burns winning around the edge, bending, and Hurts falls down because he anticipates Burns killing him. But look at Burns, man. Like, he's doing this on a hurt groin. Look how low his knee is to the ground. Look how flat his plant foot is. People don't bend like this, dude.
No.
This is what we were saying back in March when the Giants signed Brian Burns. It's like no one can really do this not a lot of players do what he's doing right now, stressing the edge, dipping that inside shoulder, and being able to maintain balance through contact on such a tight angle. That is rare stuff in the NFL. And Brian Burns, Azeez Ojulari has a little bit of this, but Brian Burns is like one of one in the NFL when it comes to this specific trait, high side rushing.
Great observation. And him and Azeez are both two guys who can do that for the Giants.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts just ends up falling down. So here I just have two Drew Phillips plays. Look, this is the wildcat where the Eagles are getting tricky. They do a fake pitch, and you're going to see Drew Phillips right here. He's going to undercut the block and make the tackle in the backfield.
Such a good play right there by Phillips. My God, this is one of the best plays the Giants have put on tape in a while.
It's an excellent play, and it's also an excellent play by Brian Burns. Look, Brian Burns is the defender to that side. He's just going to get to the outside shoulder of Lane Johnson. That was going to force a cutback. It's contained. He's boxing him inside. A very smart play. Won't show up on the stat sheet. And Brian Burns is a real football player, man. He's another one I just love watching.
I'm happy we have him here. He's only 25, 26 range. I'm happy we have him here for a long time to go. You don't find those players in free agency, so that's why I was always for the trade by Joe Shane.
100%. And now here's Drew Phillips just undercutting two blockers. Again, you just don't have apex.
His awareness is so damn good around the line of scrimmage, dude. It's crazy.
I know the Giants have had a lot of players like that in recent memory, but this one can actually cover.
Yeah, exactly. And he's stronger, I think, at the contact point as well.
Oh, he moves different. He's just a different type of athlete than Darnay Holmes and Grant freaking.
We finally might have hit a 3rd round pick, Nick. It's too early to say we have, but maybe we finally came close to it. What's the last one? Mario Manningham? Have we had one since? I don't think so.
A 3rd round pick. I want to say, I love Lorenzo Carter, but the torn Achilles,
I wouldn't count that.
Down. Yeah, you can't really count it. But I really believed in his skill set. Early scouting me, but he had all the athletic ability in the world.
Might be Manningham, man. It's crazy to think about how bad luck we've had on these 3rd round picks.
And we're gonna have another cover one hole on 3rd and 10. You see the defender buzz down, and then he flows and keeps pace with Jalen Hurts the entire time. And the Giants are able to get pressure and ultimately sack him. Not a lot of separation. The Giants are doing good man coverage, which is a great sign for their secondary, their young secondary. But you're going to see again, you have both the defensive linemen twist. The Giants' edge rushers try to set a firm edge. Jalen Hurts bounces it wide. So Elijah Chapman's smart move. Chapman understands that it's being bounced wide, so he goes around the ass of Azeez Ojulari, gets outside. That forces Jalen Hurts to go back to the inside where Brian Burns is rushing in on him and Dexter Lawrence is waiting for him. These are smart rush paths by the New York Giants. This is coaching. This is execution. I know that's very unfamiliar for a lot of Giant fans. We don't receive a lot of praise in the coaching and the execution department, but these rush paths, this is coaching deliberately against Jalen Hurts, and it was effective, and it led to Jalen Hurts looking like a fish out of water for much of the first half.
And that's a great point and observation, Nick, because we talked a lot on this podcast about how much we want to see more specific game plans to the specific opponent from the Giants defense. We said that earlier in the year, right? On the clip game. And I think that he's done a great job, Shane Bowen, responding to that. There's been some really good specific game plans for some of these players, these quarterbacks. This Jalen Hurts game plan was phenomenal.
And it's not like a ton of man beaters. Like I know Brian Daboll's like under the microscope right now, rightfully so, but he'll design these man beaters if you're getting a lot of man coverage on 3rd downs to get some free release. We saw that all throughout the early parts of the season. You don't get any of that from the Eagles.
No,
not really. Right. And the Giants were out there in man coverage often,
right,
dude. And it's not like Jalen Hurts was lighting it up, right? A lot of them resulted in these sacks. That's a credit to the Giants, man.
Yeah, I didn't feel like the Eagles got their passing game going at all, with the exception of a few A.J. Brown plays, honestly.
Yeah, and now here's the 55-yard center pull boundary rush at Ojulari. And my God, the footwork by Cam Jurgens here is amazing. Watch that skip pull, stay square. Oh my God, that is beautiful stuff. You're never going to see a Giants hero on the 11th. Oh,
but that's effed up too, because John Michael Schmitz was drafted before Jurgens and expected to be a better player. And I never thought on film that he was that as good. Like, it's just like, why do we not get the guy? Like, they drafted him for a reason, because he moved, right? Like, they love his movement skills. They're like, this guy reminds us a little bit of Kelsey. What, like, I just don't get it, man. I don't know why we can't hit on these types of picks.
Such a smooth play by Jurgens. And also, look, Azeez tries to go inside, gets pinned, and then you have Nubin as that secondary force.
Yeah,
maybe Azeez wasn't in contain here because you do have two defenders right there. That's plausible, right? That's possible. But how he just gets manhandled to the inside, creates that traffic jam, and then Nubin tries to undercut the block, can't, and then it's just Deonte Banks against a pulling center. Like, Deonte Banks doesn't stand a chance. And the rest is history. 55
At least decent effort from Banks on this one.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. But then the very next play, 1st and 10, you have this 12-yard gain right at Azeez Ojulari. Shotgun, they just run right back at him. And now he's definitely the contained defender. Like that, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like that's his responsibility. Sets the edge, but can't get outside to make the tackle. Ends up being a 12-yard gain in the red zone. So that whole bullshit I was spouting about how maybe we should be light on Azeez Ojulari and he's not as bad as a run defender as maybe we have led on this podcast. I was wrong. Stick to our initial assessment.
Yeah, unfortunately, not his forte. Banks never getting off this block either from AJ Brown.
Nah, it's AJ Brown. He's crazy. And now you're gonna have just a 4th and 3 touchdown to AJ Brown. Beautiful throw by Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And look, I like how the Eagles, you don't see it here because I cut it a little bit late, but they motion AJ Brown from the 3-by-1 set outside the numbers. That expanded Nick McLeod, got Nick McLeod one-on-one matchup. AJ Brown just basically ran through his outside shoulder. And Hurts just got this football off. It was almost a sack, actually, as you'll see from this angle.
Yeah, great throw under pressure, great poise in the pocket, not bailing the pocket, not taking too much of a drop back, not wasting all this space with all these lengthy moves in the pocket. Just understands where he's got to throw to. I'm not a huge fan of Jalen Hurts, but this was an elite level play and throw by him.
Yeah, it's great. And Azeez is the one who gets the pressure against Lane Johnson through a TE twist underneath. I thought Chapman had a pep in his step through much of this game. Didn't really show up on the stat sheet too much, but somebody that I was impressed with. And now we're going to have this 3rd and 11. It's a cover 1 sack. Okereke blitzes initially, but then he backs off and turns into a quarterback spy. You have cover 1 and you're dropping one of the safeties down to cover the running back out of the backfield to spy Jalen Hurts. And also that spy occupied the guard long enough to set up one-on-one matchups. Again, great scheme by Shane Bowen. Smart by Shane Bowen. So you can see Okereke runs right at this guard, engages. Now the guard's eliminated. The guard can't help the center with Dexter Lawrence, can't help the tackle with Brian Burns. Then he drops off, gets his eyes on Jalen Hurts. But by that point, the one-on-one matchups for Dexter Lawrence and Elijah Chapman crash right into Jalen Hurts' lap. And there's really no chance for him to get rid of the football on this 3rd and 11.
You could see at the end the frustration from Landon Dickerson. I believe that was Landon Dickerson, 69, at the end of that play. Just that's what it's like when you have to block these guys. And I know he's probably pissed that he feels like he got fooled by Okereke, but at the end he just throws his hands up in disgust.
Hey man, well, what can you do? You have to respect the threat.
Right.
So everyone has to hold up, but this is again smart scheming by the New York Giants. Yep. Man coverage on the back end, baby. Now we're gonna have a zone read. And you can see how Patrick Johnson goes to engage the capper and engage that pulling H-back who was going to lead block. Micah McFadden gets outside to account for Jalen Hurts. And I don't know the exact rules or who's at fault here, but you have Micah McFadden take on the initial blocker. And Saquon reads all this, but nobody ends up taking the C gap because Dexter Lawrence, he takes the double team. Patrick Johnson goes at the blocker. Micah McFadden expands outward. Who the hell's there? Nobody. And it's on Jason Pinnock to make the open field. That's a tough tackle for Jason Pinnock to make. And he wasn't great in that situation anyways. But this could be just excellent vision by Saquon because this is the same side run. And instead of going towards the offensive left, he bounces it right and makes the Giants pay for abandoning that C gap. I don't know who's exactly at fault. It might have been Patrick Johnson. That's where I'm leaning. But again, I'm not in the room.
Yeah, hard to say. It looks like it was, though, because you see McFadden expanding.
Yeah, because I think, he was going to crack and then McFadden was going to replace. No one was in the C. It's tough. And now we're going to have an ISO run where a freaking linebacker is brought into the game to be the fullback. He takes on Okereke, and then Saquon just explodes right to the middle. Jason Pinnock misses a tackle in the alley, and Trey Hawkins has to track him down. And
this is Banks. It's the play we were referencing before with Banks at the end of the play, not getting involved in the tackle.
Yeah, you can see here. You see Banks keeping pace. Banks is staying outside, forcing him to the inside. So his position is important at this point of the play. But it's this point of the play that's a problem, where he doesn't do anything.
Right. And that's the type of stuff the coaches are going to see on film, right? And if you're looking your players in the mirror, right, you're talking to them. Brian Burns just put everything on the line for us in a meaningless 2-4 game. Like, not meaningless, but I'm joking. But like in a game where you had to win, any game. And then this guy's doing that. It's not a good look if you don't discipline him in some kind of way, is my take.
Exactly. And now you're going to see no Dexter Lawrence out there. You have a tight front almost. I mean, the one guy's, I guess, a 5 technique, but there's 2 tight ends to that side. But you have 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. No Dexter Lawrence. Just run the football right at the Giants. Azeez Ojulari gets popped out by the fullback also known as a linebacker, and everyone gets washed down. And now it's Kenneth Gainwell against Jason Pinnock as the last line of defense. So in the fourth quarter, the Giants were just getting the football ran directly down their throats. And it was over at that point.
Yeah.
Those are all the plays, though.
Yeah, so let's get into some superlatives, Nick. Let's see what we can come up with there. I'm getting to my list right now. It was another. This one wasn't as rough, but let's see. Unheralded player of the game. Who do you have?
I have Chapman, man. He played 24 snaps. Look, he's a good pass rusher. I think he's valuable to what the Giants want to do when they twist. He's agile. I think he's an asset on defense. Don't think he's a complete player quite yet, but he was my unheralded player.
I want Tomlin Fox.
Yeah. Shout out. Yeah, I'm sorry, not to cut you off. Shout out Timon Fox and shout out Darius Muasau, who played the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And both of them actually had several great reps against Philadelphia's second.
Yeah. It's still worth it. To me, that's unheralded player right there. Like Tomlin Fox, I think he had a hit in a hurry.
He got a sack.
You got a sack. Like, I don't care who you're playing against. Like, you're unheralded to me. You came out there, the game was over. You still put everything on the line, put out good tape for, hopefully you get some opportunities down the line for that standpoint. Highest effort player from you.
Brian Burns, 100%.
Yeah, it's Burns for me, but I put Dex in that category as well. Best player overall.
Dexter Lawrence still.
Easily, yeah. The player expected to see more from, I think that's obvious. It's Deontay Banks, right?
Yep.
Pass rush grade. That's interesting.
I had an 8-1. Giants didn't blitz that much, and they were able to get after Jalen Hurts and sack him multiple times, especially in the first half. So 8-1 for me.
I got 8-6. Again, a lot of four-man rushes that get there, some coverage sacks too, but I just thought they did a really good job up front, the Giants. Run defense, though, what do you got for that?
I'm going to go 3-1.
Okay. I went 2-2. I thought this was the worst. They got gashed in the second half.
Yeah, they got gashed. They had a lot of solid run fits, though, in the first half.
The beginning, yeah. True.
Too high, fitting nickel, 11 personnel runs, and it made me motivated. And I think a lot of the issues was just the lack of depth behind Dex and the edge rushers.
It's fair. It's fair thing to wonder. All right, I forgot to ask, but please, everybody, like and subscribe to the video. Support the show as best as you can to help us grow. That means liking and commenting. We had a nice reaction to last night's podcast. I saw 700 likes on the live show and 250 comments. I think that's helping us a lot. So if you can do that for these types of videos as well, please do. Rate and subscribe, all those good things. Have a great rest of your night. We will talk to you soon, and go Giants.